So everyone, we're going to start off this tutorial with doing a pouch. This is my Maya scene, so I have several different meshes in it. This is the Marvelous mesh that I made. It's very low poly, so there's not much that could clip into it or not when I do the fabric. I have a low poly mesh, so when I get the Marvelous file closer to done, I have a mesh that I can put in there so it'll simulate a little bit better on top of this geo. Then at the very end, I have the high poly mesh, which is just a nice smooth mesh. It also has a little hole for the water to drip out if water gets in the pouches and stuff like that. First, I'm just going to export this mesh. And I have my directory set up. I'm just exporting it as a magazine, OBJ, and I'm just exporting it. So that's all I need to do in Maya right now. So let's go over to Marvelous. So before we start in Marvelous, I also have reference I'm going to go off of. It's this reference. I just found it on the internet. It's just a basic ammunition pouch. So I'm just going to go off the basic idea of this, where there's a piece of cloth holding in the back, a cloth wrapping around, and then a cloth that holds the actual magazine in place. Feel free to change it how you like or do different designs if you want. For me, this is just a guide to go by to just create something. So everybody, we're back in Marvelous. I have the scale already set up, so I'm just going to add in the avatar. The scale I have 1000%. I'm going to start with adding the back cloth because that's what everything's going to be based off of. So I use the shadow viewing of the mesh to give me the size of the mesh. So when I create it, I want to change the collision thickness and rendering to 4 and 4, and then put on the collision view rendering. I'm good. So the front of the cloth is always the one facing the camera. So if you turn off the thickness rendering, the back side is always darker. I want to create the back first, so I'm going to put this in the back and make sure the back side is the inside of the mesh. Put on thickness viewing because I prefer rendering it with that. And just place it how you want. So once I place the cloth in here, I just want to save it really quickly, just so I have at least a reference to go back to if something happens, something goes wrong. I'm going to place it in the directory, and I'm going to name it pouch. So after I have the back in there, I just want to line it up. So I'm going to select this edge and just slowly move it over. I don't have to be precise. I just want something that's going to fit. The top is a little too long, so I'm going to select the top and just lower it down. So after I have this, I want to place internal lines to weld in the front of everything. So after I have the back placed in here, I'm not even going to simulate it. I'm going to select it. I'm just going to freeze it because that's going to be my base for everything. Now let me move it out a little bit farther because it was clipping in. It's just going to be my base. I will be able to sim it later. Just right now, I just want to weld everything into it because it's floating, so it would fall down if I didn't. I need to add internal lines on this to place in the cloth that's going to be welded in. So it has a little trim around the edge, so I'm not going to go exactly how it goes, but I can select all these edges and then offset an internal line and just get it where I feel is accurate. Let me just put it at 40 and turn off thickness rendering just to see the internal lines. So yeah, that seems about accurate how I want to place it on there. So what I'm going to do now is add the piece of cloth that's going to hold the clip. I did several different techniques on how I would make something like this, but for now I'm just going to make it how I made it the last time. I just created the cloth. I'm going to drag this over. It might be a little too big at the moment, but it's going to wrap around the whole mesh. First I'm going to weld it into here. I need to have internal lines that'll cut here, so it'll weld into here and weld into this one. I want to make it a little bit more accurate to the size, so that looks about right. So I'll just create the internal lines, which that was 40, so I'll offset an internal line and do 40 again, so they line up with those. So I could just weld this into these now. And since those are backwards, because this is the back side, I welded it wrong, so I'm just going to undo that really quick, restitch those in, and then I'll simulate it so it gets on there. It's a little too tight at the moment, so I'm going to make it a little bit wider and just slowly do it to see how you like it. I wanted to wrap in here. The reference actually has these areas pulled in. To do that, I'm going to add new verts on the bottom where these edges are basically. I'll try to be somewhat precise, but it's not going to be exact. So I'll add one there, and then on the other side I'll add one also. I need this thickness basically, which is 450, and I just want to get it in the middle of this. So a way I'll hack it is I'll just add a dot in here, and I'll do ratio 50%, and then 450 I would do 225 basically, approximately. The pouch doesn't have to be accurate. So I'm going to do 225 on that side and then 225 on this side. And then I'll delete the middle one. After I have that, I'm going to slowly pull this down. This is just going to wrap on the inside. I could simulate it just to get it a little bit more relaxed in the mesh. That might be a little too long, but I'll worry about that later. I need to weld this into this part, the bottom part now, so I'm just going to stitch that in. Look, make sure it's not inverted or anything, and then I'll hit simulate. It'll pull it up, and that's what I wanted. I could hide this back piece to see the inside a little bit better, so Shift Q, and I want to pull this into here and this side into here. Give that feeling of the pouch being pulled in. It's drooping a little too much, so I'll make it a little tighter, but for now I just want to get these correct. So what I could do is add a middle cut in these. So I'll do 50%, and then I'll do 50% also, and then I'll stitch these into each other so it stays in there. I could also add the tacks to stitch it together so it doesn't accidentally fall out, but it's holding in there pretty tightly right now, so I'm perfectly fine with that. So to make this shorter, I will just select both of these, make it one shorter and one shorter, and then simulate it. Just do it slowly. I don't want it to go too crazy, because if I do too much, it might break and fall through itself. So I just do one at a time. That feels accurate. I got a little nice folds in there on both sides. I'm happy with it. So that's basically the front of the pouch. I'll be able to change it up a little bit later and add a little bit more stuff. But for now, I'll show everything. Shift W, and now I have everything in there. My next reference, there's a little sleeve going around it to just make it a little bit tighter. I'll just add that cloth now. So to create the added sleeve to go around it, I'm going to just copy this to get the right size and just paste it. Control C, Control V, and it'll just create the other one. To do the rest, I'm just going to delete these. I don't need this bottom part anymore, and I'm just going to move it up just to make the little slash, just to make the little banding strap that will go around. I'm just going to move it into place, move it out a little bit, and I'm going to also copy the same piece and put the little trim on top. I could right click it also, go Control C, and then I could also paste it and just paste the other one above. And this will be a little bit shorter. So this one I'll just place in the same area. These are just trims that they put on the pouches to give it a little bit more strength, a little bit more durability. Luckily for free stitching, this should be a lot easier to weld in. So I'm going to just go to free stitching and weld this side into this side. There we go, and then the other side also. This side into this side. And then I'll do the same with the bottom one. This one, the reference has a little gap between these, so I'll just make up a distance and then weld that in, and then also do the same for the other side, which is approximately here and down there. And now I can simulate it. That came out a little bit, so I'm going to undo, and then just move it out, and then resimulate. There we go. I'm going to actually weld the top into the top of this too, so it doesn't move at all. There we go. So I got the top trim and the bottom trim. I'm going to change the overall rendering thickness on everything again to 5 and 5. So everything's the same thickness. So right now it's all blending in with the magazine, so I want to just add a new fabric. So I'm going to add a new fabric. I'll name this pouch, and I'll just change the color. Green, which is desaturated dark. So select everything and just apply it on. I'm going to copy this and make a version that's a little bit darker so I can see some of the other little details I added. So I'm going to change this to 02. And the first one I'll go back and name 01. And this cloth will just be a slightly darker, and I'm just going to apply it on there, just so I can see the different materials, different pieces of cloth on there. So after those are added on, I could probably make this a little tighter so it pulls in. So I'm going to make the make this one just slightly tighter. And just slightly tighter. So that's that piece. And the reference is a little shorter, so let me make this a wee bit shorter. I'm going to have to unstitch it though, because the free stitching is not going to move with it. So I'm going to unstitch and unstitch, and then just make it slightly shorter. And then re-stitch that in. Which is fairly quick and easy with the free stitching. And then resimulate it. So next, I want to add the flap that goes around the top. So to do that, I'll just zoom out, and then I'll copy the back piece, and then just paste that to get the same thickness. I don't need the internal lines on this one, and then I'll just slowly move it down. The reference is actually, this piece is a little bit shorter than these, so I'm going to make this slightly thinner by 3 on each side, maybe 4, 5 on each side. And the back side is actually a little bit higher than the part it welded in, so I'm going to just slightly move that up also. I don't have a back reference, so I'm just going to assume that this welds into the back somewhere around here. So to do that, I need to add an internal line on this. And I need to copy this one, and then I need to paste it here. It will get welded in. So to weld it in, I'll just stitch it in now and free stitch the other section to the top. And there we go. I have to unfreeze this one too. I actually welded those in backwards, so let me delete those and redo. Delete sewing, and then just weld this in to this one, and then this one into the top, and then simulate it really quick, and then turn this, just because this has to fall on top. I don't have the right length of it yet, but I just need to get it on there to see. And then just simulate it, let it fall into place. For this, I want to just rotate it so the top is the bottom side, and I hold shift as I click and rotate, so it snaps to 45-degree angles. So this is the front side now of the cloth, and it's a little long. So let me make that shorter. I'm just trying to match the reference a little bit. Doesn't have to be precise. My bag is actually a lot longer than the reference, so I'm going to change that up. So anything you do in Marvelous, you can change it on the fly pretty quickly. So I'm going to accurately just move these down to match the reference, because you see the magazine a lot more. And then I got to select these and slide these down into place. And then select this, which was about there. Let me hide this top piece, because since I moved stuff around, stuff got smaller and shorter. I'm going to free stitch this stuff in yet again, because when I made it shorter, this free stitch got a little pinched. Like I said, it's very easy, just delete and re-add free stitching. So I just delete it and then just re-add it. Still way too big than what I wanted from before. I'm going to yet again delete these stitching and re-weld it in. This piece is also still a lot smaller since I changed proportions here and there. I'm going to strengthen this and then simulate it so it gets a little bit stronger, so stuff gets pushed out and where I want it to go. And since I made this smaller last time, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger again, put it back to where it was, and then weld it in again. So I'm going to stitch it one more time and make sure it's stitched in where I wanted it, and then simulate it. That's a lot more accurate. Unstrengthen it, And that's how I wanted it. Shift W to unhide everything. There we go. I need to change proportion. So pull this down and simulate it. Pull it out actually because it's clipping in, and simulate it. I wanted this on the inside of this cloth, so let me just simulate it all the way up there. Slowly move it over. And there we go. And slowly pull this back over. It's a little short, so I'm going to make it a little bit longer still. And that helps out a little bit. Still not looping around completely. If you right click and you just strengthen it, it'll just get rid of the fold temporarily. It'll just make it a lot easier to work with, basically. That's why I use the strengthen. It's clipping in the magazine. Slightly going to the left, so let me move it over. When you strengthen something, it basically makes it easier to manipulate, easier to control in the mesh. It also makes it a little transparent so you can see where it's going a lot better. I want to make the back a little bit longer, so I'm going to make it short, longer by 2 on each side. I'm also going to make this back part longer, higher up. And then unstrengthen it. And you can simulate it. This cloth, the fabric I have on there is very loose right now. I'll probably change the fabric properties, but just to work with it, I'm fine with it how it is. I need to add a little indent here, so to do that, I'm going to just add 2 vertexes here. So uniform split, and I'll say 3 lines. They're a little too close, so I'm just going to move them out by the same amount of numbers. So I'll just count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In the reference, it lines up with basically this bottom piece. So let me go File, Save. I'm just going to save over the same one, the pouch base. So far, it's coming along pretty easily, pretty quickly. There's not much detail. I changed a little proportions even after I was happy with them when I first made them. You just have to be comfortable with just going back to the mesh and just changing stuff on the fly as you go. I didn't add any of the internal lines, any of the detail lines yet. I just want to get the basic form down. And then on the back, they have the little clips that hang onto here. So I could add those, or I could add it where mostly the stuff I've been doing for games, I usually add a little strap here that hangs onto the belt. Don't usually put them up here, so I'm just going to add one on the back. I'll just draw it on top of this just to get the size, so for me, that's about right. And then add internal lines, because I want to do a double stitch on both sides. So I'll select the top and the bottom, offset an internal line, and then just scroll to get your placement that you like. 40 seems like the number I was using, so most stuff is fairly the same throughout everything. So after I have this, I'll just copy these lines, these internal lines, and then I'll paste them on here. And I want to just put it in the middle. And then I can select these and then offset an internal line and do 40 again. But I want a reverse direction because I took the internal ones. And I'll paste it. And then I could just stitch these in, the top into the top, top. And find that new piece of cloth, move it over. I'm going to turn off thickness rendering and just see which side is the back side. So this is the back side, and I want that on the inside. So I'm going to actually reverse that. You could actually select it and just flip normal. And now that's on the inside. I also just noticed I welded into the top piece and not into the actual back cloth. So I'm going to just copy these and then just paste them in the back. And then delete them from here, and it'll delete the stitching as well. I'm going to make it a little bit longer so it has a little bit of looseness to go around the belt, and then stitch these in. It should just match up, I believe. Yeah, and I can just weld it in. I'm going to select everything to make sure stuff is at the same thickness rendering, and there we go. So the next thing I will do is they have a little strap that basically would lock this into here, so it's easy to pull it up if there's Velcro or if there's a snap on there. it has a little dangling strap that's easy to grab and pull. So to do that, I'll just add another piece of cloth. It's a little long. So usually these cloths, they're double wrapped, so it's the top side will stitch into the bottom to give it thickness, so it's a little bit more sturdy. So I'll just stitch each into each other. And I'm just going to put a pin on the middle and the top, just because I want this to stay where it is, and I want this to be the top, and I basically want this to loop around top. I can unpin these. They're not needed anymore. And there we go. I just want to stitch this into the back side of the cloth that's wrapping around. And I'm just going to add another internal line just to get the thickness of this. So I'll just add this line. You can select it and just Control-C it and then weld it into here. So I'll just paste it and just line it up as best I can in the center. We'll just go about there. Just move it over so you can see it a little bit better. And then I'll delete that. And then just weld either the top or the bottom into that. Either will work. I want this to actually be on the inside of it, so I'm going to freeze everything. I don't want to have any problems happen. So freeze everything. I'm going to unfreeze this section. Weld it in. Oh, I could delete these pins also now. So I have that where I wanted it. I'm going to freeze this. I'm just going to unfreeze the top section and move it out. There we go. I don't want this to be noticeable on the mesh since it's just stitched on the inside, so I'm going to turn off fold rendering. And then unfreeze this, and I'll just hang down like a little loop. Change this to 5 and 5. And then I could unfreeze everything. And the back. I'm going to unfreeze everything but the back section, because the back section is holding everything in place. And then simulate. No, this did not get unfrozen, and this did not get unfrozen. So far, that's the pouch we created. I'll save it at this point. So after I saved it, I want to do the pass on all the stitch work. So to do that, I'm just going to add internal lines throughout the whole mesh, basically. So I'm just going to select the edge I want, then right click and offset an internal line, and I'll just move that up, say 30. And after I add it, I got to turn off thickness rendering so I can see where it was placed. So I can see it there, and then I can simulate it and select it, and then I could change this to 270 because I don't want it too noticeable. So that's where I want the stitching in. It's still a little too strong. So instead of fold strength be 5, let me put that to like 2. Let me change it to 1. So when I add these lines, I don't need to do it in Marvelous, but if I add them in here, I'll just reiterate it. It'll add a nice border around it. So in ZBrush, you could polygroup it a lot easier, and you could select these edges a lot easier in ZBrush. So you could just add a stitch line on top of it. So that's the reason I would add those. So on this reference, they have 2 lines going up the middle. So to do that, I'll just add another internal line going up and down, and use the same settings as this, which was 1 and 270. And I don't know why when I set it to 270, if I unselect it and select it back, it changed it to 269. And then I'm going to copy this and paste it because there's 2 going down the middle. And then I'm just going to line it up a little bit better in the middle. You can subtly see them on there. It's more guides for ZBrush. You could always change the fold angle and stuff if you wanted fold strength and fold angle to make it more noticeable. So I put 3 on these, you'll see a little bit better. So for these, they have stitching going around them also. I'll just add an internal line. I'll actually just offset the internal lines. So I'll select the edges I want and offset the internal line. Offset an internal line, and I'll just move those up to something I like. 15 works. And select those and do the same settings as before. I was happy with those. Fold strength was 1 to 3 I was using, and fold angle I was using 270. So fold strength, I'll just go with 2. Just see how it looks. I just want this a little tighter, this piece going around a little tighter. So I'm going to just move it in just a little bit more. And then for this back side, I'm just going to add a little stitch lines going down the edge of it too. So I could just select this, these side edges, and then offset another internal line. I'll do 15 again. Select those edges. Change it to 2 and 270. That's most of the detail work I want to do. So let me go File, Save as Garmin, and then just do details. I like to keep a base mesh, so if I need to go back to something, change it up, or make a new pouch, I have a base to start from, and then I have a detailed version. Last time I made the pouch, I put the hole on the front, but to make more sense, usually they're placed on the bottom. So I'm just going to go on here, go into the circle internal line, and then just place one on here. I have to turn off the thickness rendering so I can see this a little better. So I'm just going to rotate it in, and I'm just going to place this where I want it. It's a little big right now, but I'll just shrink that down. So there we go, and I'm going to shrink it down. So hold an edge, hold shift to keep it the same scale. So most of these pouches have a little hole on them, so when water gets in it or dirt or anything, there's a hole for everything to drain out of. It's a little detail that is nice to add on because you usually put a little metal ring on it, so it has a little bit of material that pops out in the game. So after I added it, I could just select it, and then I could cut it out. If I cut it out, I can move it, delete that, and then just have the hole in there. So in Maya afterwards, I'll just line up the metal bit onto there. And let me put on thickness rendering again. And yeah, that's basically a pouch. If you want to do more detail work on it, you could. If I want a little bit more wrinkles on the side, I can make this a little bit wider. Let me move this stuff out. Get a little bit more room. I can move it out a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2. And just when you make the cloth a little bit longer, wider in areas, you're gonna get a lot more dramatic folds. It's not gonna look as it fits as tight, but it'll be a little bit better. So when I'm done, I could also unfreeze the back section, just so it gets a little bit of wrinkles on it, so it's not just straight flat. So I'm gonna pin the top and bottom so it doesn't move, and I can simulate it. It's going to get pulled in. I can simulate it and unsimulate it really quickly, just to give it a little bit more life. And then just freeze it again and remove those pins. I also want this to be overlaying on this side. Let me just change, because I want this to go on top of this. So I'm going to select this and just change the layering to like 5. And then just simulate. And it comes out where I wanted it. And then change the layer system back to 0. This is really tight on here. So now I'm just doing little detail passes. I don't want it so tight. I'm going to select this one and move it up. Is the part I want. There we go. I just wanted that to get a little bit more life to it. I don't want it so super tight. So if you want this to be a little bit stronger, you change the fabric. Let me go to the Pouch 01 fabric. So for the cloth, you have presets. You have all these different options. You have A, which is for animation. So when you do the animation sequences, this is what you should use. It's best for that. You have D, which is the draft. It's the fastest simulation. So these are best for when you're doing your quick overview of it. R is basically for reality. This is heavy on the computer, a little bit heavier on the computer. They have a little bit more precise simulation properties on them. S is for simulation, and these are used more on non-fabrics like buttons, heavy leather, etc., stuff like that. For this, I'll just use draft, and I'll try denim on it. It's just a little bit stiffer, so it doesn't get as many folds. And you could just cycle through them. You can go knit and just see how they react with everything. Knit is very loose. Leather's a lot tighter. Cotton cloth. Wool. Wool is pretty thick. Chiffon. So it all depends. If you don't want that many folds, you want it pretty stiff, you just find a material that it looks best for your results. So actually that material doesn't look too bad compared to the concept, compared to the reference image. Now I'm just going to do one more detail pass. I'm just going to use the edit round corner just to soften up some of these edges because fabric isn't usually really sharp edged. So I'm just going to soften all these edges and just go through what you think should be soft. This is just a detail pass that is not needed. And yeah, there we go. There's the pouch. Take it into ZBrush afterwards and just finish it up. That's just a quick tutorial. Another little demonstration that you guys could do just to feel more comfortable. There's a lot of different reference out there. You could use the magazine clip that I'm going to provide for you or make your own pouch, make a larger pouch, smaller pouch. Just have fun with it. Have fun, guys.